Hello, and welcome to the week's program of the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. Each week, we connect with and hear from fascinating and inspirational speakers, often with a message focused on our interests in innovation, entrepreneurship, and education. As a Rotary Club, we look for ways these programs might foster new approaches to improving our communities, near and far. We're glad you've joined us and hope you'll enjoy how we are exploring how technology can serve the business of service to others. This week, our guest is Brenda Cressey, a past Rotary Foundation chair and trustee, who will tell us the story of what the Rotary Foundation is and can be. With no further ado, Brenda, welcome.
Thank you, Raj. It's just such a pleasure to be with you all today, and special thanks to Cecilia and Rushton for this kind invitation. So today I thought I'd take a different track on telling a story. And I just recently read this very thoughtful bedtime story. And in my mind, I thought it was in perfect alignment with our mission in Rotary. And it shows us that each one of us can truly make a difference. We do this through the magic and the miracles of the Rotary Foundation in our great humanitarian organization, Rotary International. So personally, these words in this story truly resonated with me because when I grew up learning the same lessons that are mentioned in my own church, and now, while recognizing that we all have different faiths or beliefs here in our audience today, I'd like you to know that this story simply reflects the storyteller's belief. I do hope these words provide you with an affirmation of Rotary's vision statement. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and right here in ourselves. So now a bedtime story written by Melannie Svoboda entitled, "What Are Your Dreams for a Better World?" And the story begins. The world needs dreamers, those individuals who see the world the way it is and envision a better one. What are your dreams for a better world? You might want to take a few minutes to reflect on that question. And as I share some of my dreams, you can then formulate some of your own. So some of my dreams for a better world are that every baby be welcomed and cared for, that every man, woman, and child would know how to read and write, that every marriage, friendship, or other committed relationship would be life-giving, that every community, whether family, parish, neighborhood, state, or nation, would help support the weak and the marginalized members in their midst, that all farmers would be able to make a decent living raising the food for the world, and that all people would learn at least one language beside their own. Cecilia? That all people would consistently choose to do the better thing. And if they failed, they would learn from that experience, apologize if needed, and make a better choice the next time. That everyone would be patient with shortcomings of everyone else. That racism, sexism, and ageism would be so rare that the words would eventually be marked obsolete in the dictionary. That elderly individuals would be respected, cherished, and cared for. And that in addition to just making a profit, all businesses would keep in mind the promotion of the common good. That everyone would begin their day by asking their deity for wisdom, strength, and compassion. And if they have no deity, then they would ask for all the positive forces of the universe for these three qualities. That all people would forgive all the wrongs committed against them and their ancestors. That armies would be used sorely for activities such as these: global disaster relief, the distribution of toys for children in the world, and the picking up of the world's litter. That we humans would continue to use our ingenuity to figure out ways to use Earth's resources responsibly without irreparable damage to our planet. And that people would laugh more, watch sunsets more, talk to the birds more and smell the flowers more and get to know their neighbors better. That we would think in terms of us and ours instead of me and mine. And that before every decision, the leaders of government, businesses, and churches would ask this question: how will we do here today affect the seventh generation? And this is a term taken from the Oneida Native Americans. And last, that no one would die alone. As I drew these up, I thought they sounded a lot like the dreams of Jesus had for a better world. Dreams encapsulated in his words such as these: love one another, forgive one another, turn the other cheek, take no extra sandals for the journey, and share your treasure with the poor. Fear not, behold the birds of the air and the lilies of the field, follow me. I also thought, I can't just sit around and dream. I must do something to help make my dreams come true. So I asked myself, what small step can I take today to make one of my dreams more of a reality? After all, a better world starts with a better me. Sarah Ban Brenath, an author of Simple Abundance, said it well. The world needs dreamers. The world needs doers. But above all, the world needs dreamers who do. The end of your bed story. But wait, is this really the end of this beautiful bedtime story, my friends? Of course not. What are your dreams for a better world? Friends in Rotary, please dream the possible dreams and make those a reality. And let it all begin with me. Thank you. Good night.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Brenda. And it is a joy to be able to share hopes for a better world with our members of our club. I want to introduce the people that we have on the call and a guest as well. So as I say your name, please wave to the camera. Here in the San Francisco Bay Area, we have two of our newest members, Raj Bhandari and Terry Schinkel. We also have a member who is not new to Rotary, but is now 24 years into his experience, Phil Dean. Also in our club in Texas is Rory Olson in Houston. And two members of our club who are currently in Europe, Martina Span, based in Spain, and Cecilia Babkirk, now in Italy, waving from Rome. We're very happy to have our guest Wen Spiller here from Nevada City, California. And my name is Rushton Hurley. I am the charter president of the club and the programs chair. And I will handle our Q&A. So the first question that comes in via the chat is, what is a typical way for a Rotarian to introduce an entity in need of funding to the foundation? So if you discover that a particular group that you've encountered in some way is one that might benefit from the Rotary Foundation in some way, what is a proper way to go about that?
I would say the best way to approach that would be to talk to your own club, to find out what their passion and what their desires are, and to understand what the mission is for that project or program, and to receive that buy-in. And then, of course, that would lead to a grant, perhaps either a local grant within the district or a global grant that could be done internationally. But I would say the best way is to do your homework on the grant, get everything together, realize that we look for sustainable projects, and therefore, if you have all your T's crossed and I's dotted, then there's a good chance to get some extra funding.
Wonderful, Brenda, thank you. Next question is one I'll ask. As we think about the good that can be done and that is needed around the world. There are lots of general needs. A community needs to have access to water, for example. Places where there may be deficiencies in the healthcare system or in the schools, to be able to support that in some way. I'm certainly in favor of our finding ways to be useful along those lines. I'm also quite interested in ways that we are trying to promote innovative service. So not just that it's, perhaps interesting and sustainable, but the kind of thing that can draw more attention and more support to what we do. Is there that kind of discussion going on at the highest level of the Rotary Foundation?
That question comes up a lot, Rushton. For Rotary, that question is usually answered by everything begins with the individual idea of one Rotarian. And it all also begins at the club level. So we at the Rotary Foundation we don't make statements such as, all right, we're going to support water, or we're going to do this or that. We give every single Rotarian options, and it is their personal passion and desire that helps them complete the mission in whatever way they can. What we are finding is that sustainability is our biggest asset. For years with our grants, I call it Band-Aids. We were literally putting Band-Aids on things and doing the same grants year after year after year because there was no sustainability factor associated with it. And now we've gotten a bit more complex in some people's minds, but it's definitely needed because our grant requests are going sky high every year. Rotarians want to make a difference, and they see the needs. And certainly coming out of this pandemic, whenever that might be, we're going to see greater needs more than ever.
Great. Another question that's come in from the chat is, what is the typical time frame for an international grant from submission to review to funding?
Boy, that was really taken to task during the pandemic. We had some grants that turned around in 2 weeks. Other times there may be questions that need to be answered, and that will make all the difference in the world. So it's really nice if anyone does a grant to the Rotary Foundation or grant request, to have someone review it before it's submitted to get all of those questions answered. And then that grant should go through within easily, I would say 30 to 45 days.
Good deal. One of our newest Rotarians, Terry Schinkel, asks, as a new Rotarian, what are some of the grants that have been given? So what are some of the stories that you tell when you were talking to people about the work that the Rotary Foundation does?
Well, Terry, I know you're a new member, and I would encourage you, first of all, welcome to Rotary. But I would encourage you to go onto the Rotary website and look at all the ideas and the grants that we've done. But I can tell you over these last few months with the pandemic, a lot of the grants that we have expended have been for food security or PPE in relation to COVID. But then there are larger grants. I know Cecilia has a lot of experience with grants, and she's marvelous. I'm working right now with a group in Haiti, and they actually have a lot of grants coming through to have clean and sanitized sanitation issues in Haiti. They are working towards having the whole country of Haiti with clean water. Unfortunately, they keep dealing with all these disasters and governmental things, and it's difficult. But nevertheless, we have hundreds of Rotarians who are very passionate about solving that. Water wells, maternal child health, all of these things are so very important to Rotarians. So Terry, that was a great question. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. Martina, you can unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
Unless Cecilia wants to say something which is directly answering this, then mine can come afterwards.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Brenda, first of all, for your excellent presentation. And I have, Terry's question may be exactly the other way around. As we are an e-club, we are all over the world. And local is for each one of us where we are. But for me, local is still the Silicon Valley. The grant that we already received, the global grant through the club, and the second one is in the pipeline, is for Ethiopia. I've done 2 grants, which were international ones, where we were the international club. Where do you see a need in California? Where would you see a big need locally that could be a global grant? Because there is poverty also. We see it here. We have such a lot of poverty in the south of Spain. And we sometimes get, because I was in a Spanish club and I'm still in all the chat groups of the Spanish clubs. And we got a lot of criticism sometimes. Why don't you do it locally? And so I would like to ask, where would you see a necessity?
All right. I didn't know if Cecilia wanted to say something at this point, but I can cite one tremendous grant that happened in California by a Rotarian in Southern California. And it was to create a microcredit opportunity for women they were single moms for the most part. And this allowed them to fund their products and receive the microcredit, pay it back. Microcredit is huge. And I think that, the opportunity for there is great. It's usually funded, I believe, by the Grameen Bank. And there are opportunities for individuals to get involved in this type of opportunity and really make a difference in an extraordinary amount of lives. So that's one thing. But I think each community, local community, it would be good to do an assessment to find out what the needs are. I was on a call the other day and someone was mentioning, what can we do to help our elderly in the nursing homes? They're so isolated. What can we do to make their lives better? And so I just suggested that they begin talking with other clubs in their district and figure out how they wanted to look at this and make a difference for those elderly people.
I didn't type quickly enough, Rushton. I would like to say something. Is that possible?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda. I have to say that you answered my question with something that I did absolutely not expect. I did my postgrads in development management, and the Grameen Bank and the microcredits, they make me think of Kerala or Africa, but I would not have thought of a microcredit as in California. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. And it is so absolutely important to find out what the real needs are. We had this huge wildfire here, problem that California has all the time too. And also we would have done it completely wrong. But as I made the experience already a couple of times, that when you start before you find out what they really need. So right. I spent 2 hours just to find out what they needed. And then it was very, very easy, because sometimes we have a thing in our heads, what we think what people need, and it is completely the opposite sometimes. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Martina. I appreciate that.
Great comments, Martina, and certainly a good plug for the importance of thinking about the value of design thinking principles as we look at possibilities for Rotary grants and Rotary efforts around the world. Speaking of around the world, in Rome, Cecilia, I think you have a question. Go right ahead.
Well, actually a couple. One relates to how e-clubs function vis-a-vis the grant program, and the other one has to do with the sufficiency of the World Fund this year. I'm sure you just love getting this question, but I know that between the World Fund's no longer matching cash and actually only matching DDF at 80%. clearly clubs are going to have to raise more money, quite a bit more, just to do what they had been doing previously. But I think there is so much more demand in the world that I'm concerned that we will run out of money in the World Fund again this year. And I was wondering whether you have any sense about that and how the trustees may address it.
All right, Cecilia, I knew you'd come up with some doozies.
It's acceptable to say, I don't know, because I'm no longer on the trustees board.
But as a past trustee chair, I can't say things like that. But let me just go back a little bit, because I noticed that Terry did say, what is the World Fund? So that's a really good question. So let's just begin with that very simply, Terry. All Rotarians, Rotaractors are encouraged to support the Rotary Foundation, which is the charitable arm of our organization. And when we make a gift to the Rotary Foundation, there are different funds that we can support, such as polio. Annual fund is where we come to the World Fund picture. So when we give to the annual fund, let's say $100 this year, it is invested for 3 years. And then in 3 years, half of that, after a 5% administration fee is taken, half of that is returned to each of the Rotary districts, and the other half is put into the so-called World Fund. It's a fund that helps support the grants that we're talking about. And so what happens is the clubs can use that 50% return to their district to submit a grant. And whatever money they raise will be matched by the World Fund now by 80%. It used to be 100%. But because of the increase of global grants, and this may answer part of Cecilia and earlier Phil's message, we have had over 3 times more submissions for grants over the last just 3 years. And that has really taken a toll on our pot of money, if you will, the World Fund. And so we had to make some really difficult choices this last year, the trustees did. And one of them was to reduce the full match 100%. And some other things. And I think that it would probably be better if I were able to provide a document that you could read through this and ask, rather than me go through it, because it gets a little complicated, especially for those of us who know it. And for those who don't know it, it's going to go like right over your head. And I don't want that to happen. But
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
nevertheless, it's just, it was something that we needed to do to protect the World Fund, to protect the interest of our Rotarians across the globe. And even though we're not funding the match, Cecilia, the 100%, now 80, it allows your district even to spread the grants over to make them available to more clubs in your own district, let alone around the world. So it allows more people to participate in the projects.
Excellent, Brenda. Thank you. So thinking about the coming few years, are there discussions happening within the community of the trustees for the Rotary Foundation that point to things that you think are particularly exciting or inspiring with regard to how we as normal Rotarians might be able to share these stories and inspire others to see their possibilities for jumping in as well?
Oh, sure. Well, of course, needless to say, it's polio, the eradication of polio. We are just really, I mean, I know they use this close and all of that, and we don't even like to use that term because we've sort of been saying that for a little while. But it's really, really exciting to think that we do only have 2 countries left who have not been certified free of polio for a total of 3 years. Only 2 cases in the last year. We have full support still from the 2 governments, Pakistan and Afghanistan. full support, of course, of the CDC and the World Health Organization and all those wonderful partners, including Gates, to help us get there. We all need to continue supporting that effort until it is finished. And I don't think it's going to be finished the day that we hear we're certified free. So we're still going to do the vaccinations. We're still doing vaccinations in India. And they were certified free quite a while ago. So, you know, we're learning now that vaccinations work and they are important. And I think that's a wonderful story for us to share. Just the sheer infrastructure of what we've created through polio has truly helped with COVID. It's amazing. And I think that is a story that we should be shouting from the rooftops because it really has made a difference. The other thing real quick is the programs of scale. What an incredible opportunity our programs of scale are. We allow $2 million from that pot of fund, the World Fund, to do these magnificent grants, large scale projects. The first one just granted was in Zambia, and we have several partners. It became a $6 million grant because of the partners outside of Rotary. And we are working towards a malaria-free Zambia. And so we'll be seeing things like that in the future. And I think the very fact that we can find partners at that magnitude to make such an incredible difference in lives is just simply amazing and something else to be very proud of in this organization.
Excellent. As we're winding down on time, I will finish this up and we'll hand it back to Brenda before we do finish. And then, because it is a perk of being in our club and taking part in these recordings, we'll keep asking some more questions because it's so much fun to have people speak to us who have so many interesting things to share. Brenda, thank you very much for being part of this today. I'd also like to thank Raj. Raj, one of our newest members, is part of the team now that is helping do programs, and we would love even more members of our club to be part of having these recordings be something that inspires Rotarians around the world. If you are a Rotarian visiting from another club and you would like to have this serve as a makeup for a miss at your own club, a little farther down the meeting page, you'll see a little form, a little survey that you can use. And if you spell your email address properly, you'll get a message that you can then share with your club secretary as a makeup for a meeting. If you are joining us today and you are not a Rotarian, take time to consider the things that you've heard, the kinds of work that we do across faiths, across boundaries, political boundaries, across all sorts of different philosophical boundaries to make the world a better place. We are 1.2 million people around the world and 36,000 clubs finding ways locally and globally to improve the lives of others. And as you've heard, the work of the Rotary Foundation is one of the most dynamic ways that Rotarians are able to make a difference at scale. And so we hope that you will consider that. Feel free to contact us if you have questions about what it means to be part of a Rotary club. If you are interested in our club, wonderful. If you're interested in another club, we'll help you get connected to people in a club that might be a better match for you. We're happy to do that kind of thing. Finally, for everyone who has taken part today and who might be watching this recording later, a little farther down the page still, you will see our forum, Discuss. And we hope that you will add some thoughts about what you've seen in this program, what you've seen over the course of the meeting, perhaps respond to ideas that have been shared by others. It's one of the ways that we in an asynchronous online club can interact. And we enjoy getting your comments and your thoughts about what you see and how we might improve what we do. As we always like to do, we hand it back to the speaker for the final word. So Brenda, I hand it back to you, and thank you again for taking time to be with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Rushton, and thank you all. Very thoughtful questions. I enjoyed being here with you and having an opportunity to answer those questions. I guess as a trustee, past chair of the foundation, I would ask each of you, either our long seasoned members or our new members like Terry and all the others, to really think about supporting the foundation, doing it or making your gifts early each year. And if you are a leader in your club or in your district, make a leadership gift and share the importance of leadership gifts to the foundation. Be a role model. Get involved, get engaged, and be part of the impact that we are making throughout the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brenda. And everyone, we will see you next week.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.